Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I talked a couple of weeks ago about what level you start a D&D campaign at, the effects of starting that campaign at different levels. I thought I'd address that again tonight because I'm starting 2 D&D campaigns this week. I'm running both of them. Is this a little bit much? It's been a while since I've done this, so I kind of need to push the gray matter and see if it still works the way it used to. A lot of this is going to help. Tuesday, I'm starting a campaign with the layer action at 7th level. Wednesday, I'm starting a campaign with the Warriors Wednesday at 1st level. These are going to be 2 very different campaigns. There are a number of reasons they're going to be different campaigns, and the level isn't really the biggest one. If I started both of these groups at exactly the same level, with exactly the same scenario, and exactly the same setting, if I read the same sentence to open both games, word for word, 30 seconds later, they would both still be very different games. And that is because this is collaborative storytelling, and those are very different groups. Both of them excellent groups to run for in their own ways, but with entirely different group dynamics and entirely different thought processes, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not running them the same scenario. I'm not giving them the same first sentence. They're going to have very different experiences because they're looking for different experiences. The layer action is looking for something higher level. They want to jump in with experienced characters and get their feet dirty and start going from moment one at stuff that is dangerous, stuff I wouldn't throw at a lower level group because there would be no chance of them succeeding. Well, a little bit of a chance of them succeeding, but not much at all. I want to challenge a group. I don't want to destroy a group. So having a 7th level party, they can engage in higher level stuff, not worry so much about survival, and be able to engage a little bit more in story as they are fighting higher level opposition, as they're dealing with higher level situations. In an established area with an established map, with governments and guilds and criminal organizations and all this stuff already laid out, ready to go, to give these folks difficulties that they're going to have to overcome. These characters that have a history, have experience, have done things, even if that's written backstory at this point in time, it is still, these are characters that have a higher demand for backstory and story elements, and we are definitely telling the story of what happens to these characters in this place. The Warriors of Wednesday are looking for something. We have the problem with the Warriors in that we're all builders in one way, shape, or form. There are people in the group who, if you dropped us on a desert island, we'd have a windmill and internet by the end of the day. Because there are makers and engineers and folks with lots of knowledge of resources and materials and construction and crafting, and that gets reflected in our games. That we go fairly high level, fairly quickly. Things get a little out of control, and before too long, we're dominating the map, and we want the opposite of that experience. We want that ground floor gaming experience. First level. Wet behind the ears, you have just started adventuring. This is your first day out doing things outside of the ordinary, being an adventurer. There isn't an established map. They're making the established map. They're starting a very small area, doing very small things, making this thing, and building the map, building it out, building the story and the setting. I know what's happening in the world around them. They don't, and they might not necessarily care at first because they've got very local concerns that first level are very trying, very difficult to deal with. And they do need to be more concerned with survival. Survival and exploration and getting their feet on the ground so that they can absolutely not die before they hit the next level. Because we really want that lower level building themselves up feeling, I'm doing the experience in benchmarks, but I'm doing it in an unusual fashion. Normally, your levels come one of two ways. You tabulate your experience points, and when you hit a certain level of experience points, you go up a level, which is, the default system for leveling, or you benchmark. It's like, well, when you've accomplished these things, you've gotten to this point in the story, or you've finished this particular adventure, well, you just take your next level. And that way the game master doesn't have to do so much in the way of accounting and bookkeeping during the adventure. And well, you killed 6 orcs, but one of them got away, so it's a little easier for me. This game, however, they're going to be start at first level. After 2 sessions, they will be second level. At second level, after 4 sessions, they'll be third. After third, 6 sessions, they will be fourth. It's just number of sessions, a mechanical progression based on how long we play. And so they're going to be at the lower levels for a little while of gameplay, which is fine. I've most of the games I've run before where I started at first level, folks were second level almost before the end of the first session. But that's not what this game is about. This game is about experiencing the lower levels. So they're not going to have that intrigue or be engaged in the story-driven interactions as they're going through this. They're going to be fighting for their lives almost constantly. There are going to be times they can rest up and do some development and have some character moments. There's going to be a lot of character play. But when they step out the door, when they wake up in the morning, when the cock crows the rise of the sun, they are in danger. And the next threat that comes along might take 1 or 2 of them out. Might take out the entire party. We don't know. It's a game. There's a lot of random number generation involved. They might not win the next fight. The 7th level party that the layer actions play, they're probably winning the fight. If they do, it'll be a setback and they'll come back stronger. Warriors Wednesday game, first, 2nd level, you might not win that fight. You might get one-shotted by something. Not that I'm going to plan opposition that can one-shot them. Because both groups have a similar feature, which is me as their dungeon master. If they decide to go after something bigger, if they make the decision that they're going to go take on something which has been indicated is probably not their level or well above their pay grade, I'll let them do it. I'm not going to tell you folks where to take your story or not. If your story ends on the far side of a sign that says you will die past this sign, that's not my decision. I'm just arbitrating consequences at that point in time. I'll put the sign there. There'll be a line on the ground that says, cross this line and you'll probably die. And if folks step over that line without tossing a torch or doing some investigation, checking some lore, okay, You are welcome to step over that line. It is just a line on the ground, after all. Nothing stopping you from stepping over it. There's a beholder on the other side of the line, and one of you is going to get disintegrated, because that's what one of those eyes does. But, there was a line. Am I going to encourage a little curiosity past the line? That's what leveling up is for. Or being a little cautious, doing some scouting, asking some questions. First level characters might not know to do this. I'm not going to put a beholder in the first campaign, in the first adventure. Is there a beholder in the world? There's plenty of beholders in the world. Are they going to go looking for one? I don't know. It's this group. They might. You know what would make this a lot easier? If we had a beholder. Not the decision I would make, but you know what? Player characters are the most random force in the universe. Well, let's go capture a dragon. It is your first level. It's not going to... Yeah, but there's 5 of us, so how hard can it be? This is the game for answering questions like that, so I guess we'll find out. Are they going to face a dragon in the first adventure? That's not up to me. I know what the first adventure is. It ain't a dragon. If they beat that first adventure and it's like, hey, we're better than we thought. Let's go find something tougher. That's on them. The 7th level game? Okay. You can probably work out how to beat higher level stuff. Find some magic items, do a little investigation, get your lore on. Sure, maybe you can deal with something like that. Let's give it a try. The first level campaign, y'all are going to die, but it's going to be beautiful to watch. Let's go. Not that I expect that level of foolhardiness, of carefree indulgence in self-destruction. That is not generally how these groups play. A little carelessness here and there? Sure. Am I going to encourage a little carelessness? I have no need to encourage carelessness. If it happens, it happens, and I arbitrate consequences and make it as fun as I can. People love to roll dice. And, well, I guess you're going to be making dex saves for a little while. And, well, are you good at those? Let's see what happens. Ultimately, I expect both games to be very different experiences. I expect them both to be very good experiences. The 5-session campaign format that I do with the layer action demands very tight storytelling. You think 5 sessions of 3 to 4 hours each, that can be up to 20 hours of gameplay. Surely you don't need to tighten up your story too long for that to happen, but you do. I have had campaigns with layer action where I had to stretch a little bit to make the story last that long, or I had to truncate a little bit to keep the story within those bounds. Different games, different situations, different stories, but you have to be in control of the flow of the story. By the end of session 3, if you do not have a grip on where the story is going, by the end of session 3, you might not hit that 5-session limit. You might not be able to stretch it out that far. You might not be able to bring it back that far. And that's a wonderful challenge. I love that challenge because that challenges me as a storyteller and as a dungeon master. Not just that I've got the story, but can I guide the action in such a way that we reach a suitable, satisfying resolution at the end of session 5. The open-ended, let's go low for a while and see how long we can make this happen, that's a different animal entirely. Because I might have an overarching plot that goes in the background of this thing. There's a big bad somewhere down the line who's trying to make things difficult and is only going to pay attention to the party when they get big enough to be a threat to the big bad specifically. But in the meantime, all the other story arcs and all the other storytelling, all the bits and pieces of character, That's going to come from the party. That's not going to come from me. They're going to bring backstory a little bit, first level characters, but they've got backgrounds. They've got a little bit of where their character came from, who their character is. Everyone's playing some form of paladin, but they have reached deep into modern lore and homebrews. And okay, I reached into a homebrew because I've got a character in this too. And so you've got the turtle paladin and the bird paladin and the warforged made out of a pipe organ paladin, and it's very workable, especially starting off at first level, so you can build up those powers and abilities. And why I myself, I am playing a Muppet-born paladin. This amazing homebrew where you're playing your player character is a Muppet. Uh, and I've got art, I've got puppets, a Muppet-born paladin of the hand, the force that rests within all Muppet-born that drives their actions and guides their speech. It's really well. If you are interested in that, I'll give me a comment below, and I will see if I can link to information on the Muppet-born, because it's a joke class. It's a joke race. It's not really meant to be that seriously, but it is treated seriously in the write-up that I found, to the point where I gotta play one. I've got to play a Muppet-born. The reason I have a PC NPC in this, normally I discourage PC NPCs, because you can have a tendency to even unconsciously center things around your character, and you don't want to do that. That's a terrible practice for a dungeon master to have. But as this campaign progresses from first level to wherever we get to, uh, around third, fourth level, because these are very long levels we're doing, third, fourth level, where it's going to be 6 or 8 sessions to the next one, I might hand off the DMing to another one of the players for a session or two. It's like, do you have an idea for something? Go for it. I'll pull out the Muppet-born and we will go on your adventure for a little bit and let other stories be represented there. That worked out. We just finished up a space game that we played in Victory, where we passed around the game mastering a bit, and it worked really well, I thought, because we ended up with a very developed world with a lot of different elements to it that worked beautifully. Since this is going to be a game of exploration and building, I see no reason not to do the same thing here and add that bit of diversity. Give me a little bit of a break every so often and let someone else have those duties. It's fun to dungeon master, and then take it back over when folks are done and carry on with the greater overarching story. So there's that. I get to start 2 D&D games this week. I didn't plan it this way. This is how the schedules of both groups just lined up. And sometimes the universe tells me it's time to stretch a little bit and see how your skills are being retained or growing. So both groups present me with a challenge, and I am very pleased for both of those challenges. Can I make both of those games engaging and fun? And can I make them something that people from the outside witnessing them would say, damn, that looked like a lot of fun. I'd like to try that. Because ultimately, I don't DM for an audience outside of the table, but I don't mind the thought that someone else viewing it might decide that this hobby is something they might want to get involved in. You know, the hobby is my career, so being an advocate for it and a presenter of it is a joy for me. But outside of those challenges that are endemic just to that, the challenge of having two different campaigns going, having two different storylines that I'm keeping separate and operating. My brain just kicked in. Two different storylines that are ideally separate, but maybe not necessarily entirely separate. That seventh level game might be a little bit closer to that big bad, the same big bad that the first level campaign's dealing with. That seventh level campaign might be providing lore and history for my first level campaign. That seventh level campaign has 5 weeks to run. At the end of 5 weeks of the first level campaign, let's see, first 2 weeks, we'll take them to second, and then it is 4 weeks. They will just have hit second level by the time the seventh level campaign has drawn to its conclusion. And by that point in time, they might be ready to start encountering higher level stuff. I might be building lore for the first level campaign in the seventh level campaign. I actually really like that. Because that means I get to outsource a little bit of my lore building and my world building to the layer action. And I love world building. I love world building. I love world building in a group, and the layer action is an amazing group to world build with. Oh, we have sat down and done projects and had meetings, and got documents and maps. Oh, and that stuff will probably eventually see some form of publication because it is just too good. I've done world building with the warriors, and so this works super well because they get to build history and lore. The characters being played in the seventh level campaign might just be heroes of legend to those characters in the first level campaign. Eventually, might hear about them, see some of the stuff that they've done, or follow in some of the footprints. Might be fixing some disasters. I'm not saying there's going to be disasters. I'm just saying I'm running this game. And then the first level campaign gets to flesh that world out a little bit more. Starting from the cities and the countries, moving on down to this little hamlet, becoming a village, maybe becoming a town. Somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Yeah, because I could absolutely run them as two entirely separate entities. There'd be nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And the action adventure might never meet. The seventh level campaign might be happening 100 years before the first level campaign starts. Might be. Because I get to play with time that way. But despite the fact that the characters may never meet, the parties may never meet, their histories can absolutely meet. And then and then the section of the world that gets built around the first level campaign, that's lore, that's mapping, that's a world. That is a world that is built from the smallest details out. I don't need tiny little details in the seventh level campaign. I can write that world large. This is a city. These are buildings. There are people there, and this group that really, really wants to do stuff. That's fine. That first level campaign, they've just finished the sawmill. They've got the water wheel in the river, and it is starting to generate what they need to get the wood processed. They're having a hard time getting folks to go out and collect the lumber because they say there's eyes looking at them in the forest. Can you check that out? Because if the lumber mill can't go, we can't build the bridge, and the Baron needs that bridge built. And they haven't started to sink the abutments yet. They need the lumber just to build the area around to shore that up. So from drawing the nails that they need to build the hut they're going to live in. Yeah, building a world from that level all the way up to building the world to having that world at a higher level or you don't notice the nails, or the how the wood is cut, or the knots in the grain. Uh, where you walk into the tavern in the seventh level world and everything is fine. Here's a perfectly passable ale. You might be able to get a wine if you want to. They're cooking something in the back. To what they've cobbled together as a bit of a tavern and inn in the hamlet. Well, we've just started the ale. It's kind of weak. You're going to be tasting the mash, but we got something. It's wet. Yeah, that both of those things excite me. Both of those things give me different chills as a dungeon master. The seventh level game gives me chills because uh, I can sit down and plan out the Sun and Moon Tavern. That belongs in the seventh level campaign. Big, established, well built history that I can just, oh, you're coming into town with the caravan. There's this big tavern across the street and run straight into that. Um, but over here in the first level game, I can build that tavern from the ground up. Those paladins trying to make sure the area is safe for people building a hamlet can be instrumental in keeping those people safe. The adventuring party that grew up and retired and built this thing, that can be, these can be those folks. This might be their tavern. I don't know what they're going to do. I can't wait to find out. Well, thank you very much for following me along with this particular ramble. Maybe some of this was getting my head straight for the games, or just making sure I'm in the right headspace for dealing with two very different, but not entirely different situations. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's anything you would like to hear me talk about, again, if you are interested in the Muppet Born race, I can let me know and I'll do some stuff with that in a future video. Subjects you'd like to hear me cover, questions you'd like to hear me answer, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Might want to hit the subscribe button. If you do, you might also want to hit the notification bell so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows me to make better videos more often. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me. I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.